In today's lesson, we are going to look at solving polynomials with technology. So this is for if we have a polynomial and we cannot factor it. So if we can't factor it, we can use Desmos to determine the roots and therefore solve the equation. So for example, we want to recall, the x-intercepts are known as roots. They're also known as zeros. And they're also known as the solutions. So essentially, when we're solving a polynomial like we've done in the previous lessons, we've essentially been finding the x-intercepts. Same when we graphed the polynomials or sketched them, we found the roots, we were finding the x-intercepts. So if we can't factor it to get those x-intercepts, we're going to have to use Desmos, or you could use a graphing calculator. But Desmos seems to be is a very easy to access software. So the steps, very straightforward, very basic. In Desmos, you're going to enter the equation, and you zoom in and out to get the x-axis. So you basically find where does the graph or where does the function cross the x-axis. Tap the x-intercepts to find what the points are, and record the x value. Right? Because they're x-intercepts, the y value should always be 0, so we're only concerned about the x value. So, for example, we want to sketch the following polynomial and determine the solutions. So yes, this is a four-term polynomial. We could factor by grouping, but if we were to try, we'd realize that it's not possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Desmos, which we have already set up. We're going to enter in the function. Right? So 2x cubed plus 7x squared plus 11x plus 10. And here, if I zoom out, I see our function. Right? Get the general idea of the shape. So if I want to go over and sketch that, I can roughly sketch. It looks like it comes up. Maybe a little bit. Again, it's more of a sketch, so it doesn't have to be 100% accurate. We're more or less just concerned about, do we have the general characteristics of it? So I've sketched my function there. It does seem to roughly closely match. And for the solutions, what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in on our actual function. We don't have to zoom in too far. We see where it crosses, and when we click on Desmos, we should see a gray dot at the actual x-intercept. So that makes it really easy to find. We click on it. In this case, our x-intercept is -2, so that means then the solution is x is equal to -2. There's no other x-intercept, there's only the 1, right? Even if I zoom all the way out, there's still only the 1. So there's only one x-intercept. So the solution to this function is x equals -2. Let's look at another example. So a different function. So I'm just going to enter that into Desmos. X cubed minus 6x squared plus 6x plus 8. And here we see a different function. So I'm going to zoom out a bit so we get a better idea of what it looks like. I'll slide it over so my mini screen doesn't block it. I can roughly sketch it. So it roughly comes up. And it comes back down. And then goes up. So roughly looks something like this. And again, doesn't have to be completely accurate. We're more just sketching it. We're more just concerned about what does the general shape look like. So I have it sketched. Now I'm going to come up with the solutions. Again, I can't factor this, but what I can do is I can zoom in and click and see, okay, the first one, and let me zoom in a bit more. I don't know if it'll get any bigger. No. So the first one is -0.732. That's my first solution. Move over and I see I have two more. I have 2.732. And the last one, I have 4. So I have three possible solutions for this function or for this polynomial: negative 0.732, 2.732, and 4. So again, all we're doing is just entering the equation into Desmos and looking for the x-intercepts. One last example. X to the power of 4 minus 49. So we've graphed it. Maybe zoom out so we get a better idea of what it looks like. There's a good view of it. Essentially, it looks like a quadratic, so I'm just going to roughly sketch it. So there is my sketch of my quadratic, or not my quadratic, of my polynomial. It's not a quadratic because it's to the power of 4. And then I'm just going to come up with my solutions. The x values, or the x-intercepts. So I'm going to zoom in on my x-intercepts. I see one here is negative 2.646. And if I scroll over, the next one is positive 2.646. And do we have any other solutions? We do not. So those are the only two solutions for this polynomial. So really straightforward. Just entering these functions or these polynomials into Desmos. We're looking for the x-intercept, and we are just writing down the x value, which would be our solution. And just roughly sketching the general shape. Again, we're more concerned about what does it look like, what are the characteristics, rather than how accurate is our graph. As long as we see the general shape, we're good.